I'm like Wanderlei Silva with dress.
I understand. Okay. Listen.
You can see how that right there is like a little like...
You know why?
You know what?
I don't give a fuck.
I feel kind of invincible.
Me too. I got a very positive attitude about this.
Good, me too.
Yeah.
What were you doing when you were 13? Some of the best memories I have was getting that PS2 and playing Tekken until my eyes hurt. Having that rat bastard at Chuck E. Cheese serve me pizza. But not Wanderlei Silva. No. When Wanderlei was 13, he was at Shootbox Academy, the original fight club, a gym notorious for its banger sparring sessions where guys would get laid out. It was like a narcolepsy convention. At 13, Wanderlei was learning the best way to throw a knee, or how to cut you open with elbows. Good old Vandy was learning the most efficient way to separate you from consciousness, and after a few years of training, Wanderlei would join the army. Apparently, bare-knuckle boxing was not exciting enough. Silva would soon make a name for himself as the scrappy bruiser and eventually start competing in Vale Tudo, or No Holds Barred, the grandfather of modern-day MMA. The BVF, or the Bare Knuckle Brazilian Vale Tudo Fighting Organization, would be Silva's initial home. And after running through his first few opponents, Silva would join the IVC, or the International Vale Tudo Championship. There, he won 5 of his next 6 fights, losing once only because of a cut that kept opening up above his eye. He wouldn't stop headbutting the poor bastard he was facing. Imagine losing a fight because you headbutted your opponent so many times you cut yourself. Between the headbutts and all the soccer kicks, Silva really missed his calling of being a soccer player. Forget Ronaldo, forget Messi. Kids, here comes Wanderlei. Just remember to cover your eyes, alright? Wanderlei's first bump in the road would come at UFC Brazil when facing the Phenom Vitor Belfort, where he got caught off guard by the Belfort Blitz. It was such a spectacular loss that it kind of almost didn't count. You know when you're playing a fighting game against someone who never plays, and they just mash all the buttons and manage to win? It was like that. And that famous clip where Vitor is just using Silva's head as a speed bag was one of those clips that made me a fan of the sport. Before Wanderlei properly began his reign of terror and pride, he would first snatch up the IVC Cruiserweight belt and also make a run at the UFC Light Heavyweight belt at UFC 25 against Tito Ortiz. That was back when Tito could actually bang and not just make suckers pass out due to too much cringe. Silva would lose via decision in a decent back and forth fight. After his loss to Tito though, the Axe Murderer had been forged and was primed for pride. I dare you to name one fighter that was more dominant than Wanderlei Silva was between 1999 to 2004 in any MMA organization of note. From Silva's Pride 7 debut in 99 all the way up to Pride 28 in 04, Silva literally was the Axe Murderer. He took so many heads, the inventor of the guillotine would have been proud. At one point, Silva was riding an 18-fight win streak, beating guys like Guy Metzger, Dan Henderson, Kazushi Sakuraba, Quentin Jackson, Yuki Kondo. Even known cheaters like Gilbert Ivel stood no chance, with Silva just preemptively kicking Gilbert in the groin. Even Japan's version of Captain America, the Gracie Hunter, stood no chance. Imagine Rocky Marciano or Muhammad Ali getting soccer kicked in the face by a beady-eyed lunatic that's foaming at the mouth. Silva defeated Sakuraba on 3 separate occasions, even breaking Sakuraba's clavicle in one instance while fighting for the Pride Middleweight Championship. Croatian sensation Mirko Krokop had to settle for a draw in his first fight with Silva, and he was considered by many to be the best heavyweight in Pride at the time. But it should be noted their first bout did have modded rules. Vandy and Rampage tangoed a total of 4 times, but only 2 of those taking place in Pride. In my other video where I broke down Anderson Silva versus Rich Franklin, I got a stiffy talking about how good Anderson's knee game was, and it really was, but Wanderlei is up there, or was up there too. In his first fight with Rampage at Pride Final Conflict in 2003, Silva KO'd Rampage with knees, but not just 1 or 2, he threw a total of 17 consecutive knees in a 6-minute fight, and half of the fight was on the ground with Silva on bottom. Needless to say, Rampage was ice skating across the ring until the ref saved him from basically getting murdered. And Wanderlei won the Pride 2003 Middleweight Grand Prix. Wanderlei would defend his middleweight belt against Rampage at Pride 28 and beat him again via knees. And when Silva wasn't kneeing you relentlessly, he was trying to punch a hole where your face was, or stomping your head in favela style. You see, Silva was a bruiser, man. He would just barrel forward aggressively, taking shots just so he could give a few back. Whereas Anderson Silva was elusive and technical, Wanderlei just wanted to take your head off, showing total disregard to his safety. Wanderlei was like Jason Voorhees, only instead of being mentally disabled, he was just mental. During Silva's time in Pride, he fought 11 Japanese fighters, and not one managed to get the win. Understandably, the Pride brass wanted one of their own to beat Silva for bragging rights, I guess, but alas, it never happened. Mark Hunt, the Super Samoan and former K1 champ, would derail Silva's 18-fight win streak in an open weight bout at Pride Shockwave 2004. Hunt outweighed Silva by 80 pounds or 36 kilos, and although Hunt did win via split decision, it was not without controversy. Randy Couture and Bas Rutten were commentating and had both voiced their disagreement with the decision. It should also be noted that Silva took the fight on 2 days' notice. Silva's first loss at middleweight was to Ricardo Arona via decision. Arona by no means dominated Silva here, but he managed to get a few takedowns and do some damage, with Silva not really landing much. And because this was not a title fight, Silva still retained the belt. At Pride 2005, Silva was set to fight Arona again, but not before having a little incident backstage. Silva's teammate Cristiano Marcello got into an altercation with Charles Crazy Horse Bennett. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Bennett, he was essentially a drug dealer that turned pro MMA fighter and earned a cult following for his bizarre antics in the cage. Bennett will probably never be remembered for his MMA record, and as a fighter he wasn't all that great. Actually, I have no idea how he even ended up in Pride. Probably someone at Pride saw a video of Bennett acting like an idiot and thought it was funny. Anywho, this Marcello guy got into it with Bennett and ended up choking him out. A few moments later, he woke up and allegedly elbowed Silva in the face, knocking him out. Silva, of course, denies this, and there never was any video. But the story goes, Silva woke up later and fought Arona again and managed to win. At Pride Final Conflict, Silva would suffer his second KO since losing to Vitor Belfort in '98. Crow Cop would land a disgusting head kick straight to Silva's dome. Fortunately, Silva did not go to the cemetery. He just went on vacation to the Shadow Realm. And at Pride 33, the reign of the Axe Murderer finally came to an end when Hendo won the Pride middleweight belt in a crazy slugfest where hands were being thrown like money was owed. That would be Silva's final fight in Pride. After leaving Pride, Wanderlei would sign up with the UFC and have a total of 9 fights, losing 5 of them. It appeared the Axe Murderer was finally slowing down. Wanderlei would lose to Rich Franklin twice, Chris Lieben, Rampage, and after trying to fuck Chuck,
because I want to fight with Chuck,
he would lose to Chuck. All of Silva's losses were to dangerous veterans, so there was no shame in that. But it did appear Silva just could not compete at that level anymore. That edge Silva had in those Pride days was obviously not as sharp as it had been. No doubt all those wars had taken their toll on Silva because he would take time off to have facial reconstruction surgery. Years of getting punched in the face had left him with the breathing capabilities of a pug. He would also go for knee surgery because throwing countless knees had made them fragile like O'Malley's ego.
And in my head, I didn't lose shit. I'm 12-0, I didn't lose.
In 2013, it was announced that Silva would coach the Ultimate Fighter Brazil 3 with Uncle Chael, but that went down the shitter when Silva injured his hand while him and his entire coaching staff were trying to pet Sonnen with closed fists. Silva would make matters worse when he pulled a Houdini when USADA came along for a surprise drug test, resulting in a $70,000 fine and a lifetime ban by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Funny enough, Sonnen tested positive for PEDs and the whole thing was scrapped. Wanderlei's relationship with the UFC would sour even further when Silva accused the promotion of fixing fights, a statement he later redacted, but the damage had already been done. Uncle Dana had had enough and unceremoniously gave Vandy the boot. That lifetime ban would be reduced to 3 years, and after a few years away from the cage, Silva would return fighting for Bellator. Wanderlei would have 2 fights in Bellator against Chael and Rampage respectively, losing both of them. signaling the end for the axe murderer. Wanderlei Silva was one of my most favorite fighters. He was just so damn aggressive and relentless. Most guys would just fall apart when facing that ferocity. And in his prime, Silva was borderline unstoppable. He had that aura of invincibility, and he was also just a scary looking dude. And with his credentials in Pride, most consecutive title defenses in the middleweight division, most knockouts, longest undefeated streak, most wins, first fighter in Pride to win a championship and a Grand Prix tournament, tied for most finishes, it's hard to deny how good he was. And yeah, you could argue that many of his opponents were not that good or at the highest level, but he did fight top level guys and either beat them or barely lost most of the time. Of course, later in his career, that wasn't the case, but as with all great fighters, their decline is inevitable.